Prince Harry touched down on British soil with the quiet hope that this visit might open the door to healing. A discreet trip, a few private conversations, maybe even a handshake or two within the palace walls. What he didn't see coming was the coldest reception of all. Not from the press, not even from palace aides, but from the very institution he once wore the uniform for, the military. Soldiers stood flawless in their lines, posture sharp, eyes fixed ahead. They gave him nothing. No salute, no nod, not even the flicker of recognition. It was as if he'd vanished into thin air. For a man who once carried their respect through active service, the silence cut deeper than any insult. That refusal to salute, captured on camera, transformed a quiet royal appearance into a global moment. It spread online. It went viral. And suddenly, the story was no longer about family disputes. It was about respect, or the very public stripping of it. The symbolism was devastating. In the world of royalty, a salute is never just a formality. It's a sign of honor, of belonging. It's not given because you arrive. It's given because you're still part of the fold. And in that instant, Harry wasn't. The same man once cheered in his Blues and Royals uniform, who served 2 tours in Afghanistan, who was celebrated at parades and honored for his service, now walked past a line of soldiers who didn't even move. For those watching, it landed like a blow to the chest. No matter which side you're on, Harry's or the palace's, the weight of that image was undeniable. There was no shouting, no spectacle. Just quiet, disciplined indifference. And that made it even sharper. Palace insiders insist this wasn't a slip. It wasn't a few guards going rogue. It was protocol, enforced with precision. No salute, no ceremony, no warmth. The kind of statement you don't spell out, because the footage already does it for you. The royal family doesn't need to stage drama. They let silence do the talking. And the message? Crystal clear: choices have consequences. That's where the story turns. Harry didn't just step back from duty. He stepped into something else entirely: deals with Netflix, high-profile interviews, explosive documentaries, headline interviews, every move pulling him further from the traditions he was born into and deeper into the orbit of celebrity culture. To some, it looked like courage. To others, betrayal. But wherever you stand, the fallout is impossible to ignore. This trip to the UK was meant to be about peace. Quiet talks with King Charles. A chance to mend old wounds, maybe even rebuild a bridge. But how do you repair anything when even the guards refuse to see you? And then, of course, there's Meghan Markle. Her presence hovers whether she's in the room or not. To many, she's the reason Harry walked away. Some call her influence divisive, others see it as liberating. But either way, her shadow colors every step Harry takes. This visit was no exception. You could sense it in the silences, in the stares, in the weight of unspoken words. The soldier's refusal didn't just sting because of the act itself, it hurt because of what it signified. That even for a prince, even for someone born into the most powerful dynasty in the world, respect is not guaranteed. It's earned. It's guarded. And when you step away from the throne doesn't follow you. And it wasn't only the soldiers. The entire atmosphere around him felt altered. No motorcade. No fanfare. No official statement from the palace. No flag raised to mark his presence. Even the staff were reportedly instructed to keep things cold, professional, stripped of ceremony. He had returned, yes, but not as a royal. Just another famous guest. For someone raised in a world where reverence was automatic, the contrast must have been startling. Onlookers who caught sight of him said he looked tense. He smiled for the cameras, waved politely, but his body betrayed him, hands locked, shoulders tight, a missing confidence that once defined his royal stride. This wasn't the Prince Harry of balcony waves and global tours. This was a man moving through familiar ground that no longer welcomed him. And then came the clip. Soldiers standing motionless as he passed, not a blink, not a salute. The stillness was chilling. Social media erupted. The video spread like wildfire, millions of views, endless shares, relentless commentary. Reposts flooded in. TikToks layered with dramatic music, YouTube breakdowns dissecting every frame. Some fans rushed to defend Harry, claiming the military had gone too far. But for most, the scene played out like poetic justice. The message was stark: you turned your back on tradition, now tradition has turned its back on you. Insiders whispered that Harry had hoped for something more personal. Maybe a nod from a soldier who once served under him. A quick glance from an old comrade in uniform. Any small sign that he still belonged in that brotherhood. But none of it came. The military, like the monarchy itself, runs on protocol. And Harry had stepped outside the chain of command. Even those who once marched beside him now followed orders that rendered him invisible. This wasn't about personal grudges. It wasn't about affection or resentment. It was about the message. Institutions like this don't speak through tweets or press releases. They communicate through symbols, through silence. And this silence, no salute, no nod, no acknowledgement, was deafening. It said one thing, and one thing only: you're out. Until you return fully, if you ever do, the uniform won't recognize you. There's also pride at stake. For those still in service, especially the ones loyal to crown and country, Harry's media crusade left a bitter taste. The Oprah interview, the Netflix series, the steady stream of revelations aimed at the very system they've sworn to uphold. To them, it wasn't just Harry telling his truth, it was betrayal. A man once trusted with the kingdom's confidence, now selling that intimacy for spectacle. Among the British public, the divide runs deep. Some see Harry as punished unfairly, cast aside for daring to challenge an outdated order. Others insist he made his choice. He walked away. And now, stripped of ceremony, he's living the consequences. Because the sight of soldiers standing motionless while a prince passes by, it isn't something you can script. It plays like fiction, yet it's painfully real. The harshest cut isn't the lack of ceremony. It's the dawning truth that Harry may never be fully welcomed back. Not by the guards. Not by the staff. Perhaps not even by the crown. His image has shifted, from beloved prince to something more complicated, a symbol of fracture, conflict, and unfinished battles. And whether he admits it or not, each silent rejection, each averted gaze, is another reminder that some doors don't open again with just an apology. His trip was filled with private meetings, but even behind closed doors, warmth was hard to find. Yes, he saw King Charles, but even that came with boundaries. No cameras. No official photos. Just tea. A short exchange. The conversation barely lasted an hour. No statement followed, no warmth from the palace press office. Whatever was said behind those doors didn't soften the silence, it sharpened it. Harry could step into the room, but not back into the fold. One insider called the meeting transactional. Not emotional. Not heartfelt. Just polite, surface level. Two people speaking out of obligation, not two family members trying to heal. The royal family has always preferred to manage emotions privately. But this wasn't just private, it was distant, controlled, every exchange scripted with precision. Harry wasn't treated like an adversary, but he wasn't treated like a son returning home either. He was managed, handled, and in many ways, that's worse. Beyond the palace walls, the frenzy exploded. Commentators pounced on every detail. Every glance, every silence, every route his car took was turned into headlines. When you've lived your entire life under a microscope, scrutiny is nothing new. But this time, the microscope wasn't fueled by curiosity, it was driven by accountability. Was this a comeback? Or the confirmation of exile? The cruel brilliance of royal protocol is that it never needs to raise its voice. Guards didn't shout. Staff didn't cause a scene. The palace didn't release a word. Silence did all the cutting. That's the unique cruelty of the institution, it can erase you without ever confronting you. And for Harry, all the fame, fortune, and freedom in the world couldn't protect him from that cold precision. He wasn't punished. He was ignored. And that stings far deeper. Meghan's absence was impossible to miss. Many expected her to stand beside him. Instead, she stayed in California. Maybe it was strategy, maybe convenience, but either way, it fed the narrative. Some saw it as a smart move to avoid fresh drama. Others said it was proof of a permanent break between her and the royal machine. Her physical absence only magnified her presence in headlines, her name echoing through tabloids and Twitter threads alike. When Harry finally prepared to leave, nothing changed. No salute. No formal farewell. Just a quiet exit under the same shadow he had arrived with. By then, it was clear this visit hadn't repaired much. Maybe it opened a channel of conversation. Maybe it didn't. But the institution's message couldn't have been clearer. Loyalty is currency, and once you spend it on personal narrative, you may never get it back. The public is still divided. To some, Harry is the rebel prince, speaking truth to power. To others, he's a privileged son who betrayed the very system that gave him everything. The answer shifts depending on who you ask. But what can't be denied is the weight of the moment, the soldiers who stood frozen, the palace's silence, the emptiness of familiar halls. For Harry, this wasn't just another visit. It was a reckoning. A collision not just with his family, but with the institution that shaped his very identity. And in that world, redemption has no shortcuts. No level of fame can bend protocol. No streaming deal can replace centuries of tradition. The crown doesn't chase you. If you want back in,